Not just they can do that on our airwaves, but that they can do that as one of us, as badge-carrying employees, as paid contributors to our sacred airwaves.
No stairway. Denied. Cross the T's and dot the lowercase j's.
Voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah. It's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
Ah, John, I tell you what. Maybe that's the wrong mood to put us in on a Monday. I mean, on a Friday. What day is it?
I think it's perfect, Brad. It makes me want to slip on that old, your old Ronnie's baseball jersey. We're sitting up there at the barbershop. I'm asking you to pass the Road and Track magazine from 6 years ago that's still at the barbershop, and we can read it while we wait for Ronnie to cut our hair.
There's a certain thing that the young kids of today don't get and will never understand how much they've missed this great period of time when exactly what John said you go to. So now here's what's interesting. What's interesting is this is marketing, and this is what John does marketing and comms and things like that. If you go back in history, most barbershops were pretty much the same. Would you say, John? One barbershop?
Yeah, I think so.
And then you had somebody come along and say, hey, let's spice things up a little bit and let's have some scantily clad women hang around the barbershop. Let's, instead of just you coming in and what's the one place, I don't know if they're still around, Sports Clips.
Yeah, I'm familiar, Brad. I'm familiar with the Sport Clips. It's sports singular clips. I've learned that. Sport Clips.
Sport Clips.
Yes.
And there's a great, once again, John, there are certain movies I get made fun of all the time because all these classic movies I've never seen. But John is like this stock market guru. He talks about all these things, and he's never seen the movie The Big Short. And I can't believe that because
I can't either.
Well, there's a scene in the movie where, and once again, the movie is essentially a Hollywoodized version of what happened back with the stock market, real estate market, bank collapse back in 2007, 2008, 2009. And I can't remember his name, but he's a doctor, an MD, who decides he doesn't want to be a doctor anymore because of stock market guru. And at one point in time, he gets insulted by one of these Wall Street guys because he's losing money, and the guy accuses him. He goes on this long rant. It's almost like here. Let me play this. It's almost akin to this. It's almost akin to this diss right here.
If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
What now?
That's Comer. Okay, it's sort of one of those insults where he makes fun of where he gets his hair cut. I think he's insinuating that as a high level stock market investor, you don't get your hair cut at Great Clips.
For sure.
You don't go there because it's just below you. It's like you don't show up for a meeting with a bunch of high-end business people driving a Hyundai Accent. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Like, to quote one of my favorite groups, Brad, Philly's Most Wanted, I got girls with accents, and I don't mean Hyundais.
Is that really a line?
Yeah, but he doesn't say girls. He refers to them as kind of a piece of garden equipment. But he says, we'll say ladies. I got ladies with accents, now I mean Hondas. That's one of my favorite lines.
John, don't you find it, and we're being sidetracked already, it's all John's fault.
Of course, I do it all the time.
Don't you find it fascinating that when if sometimes you hear a song, you hear it, hundreds of times, it's one of your favorite songs, and then by chance you pull up the lyrics and you go, oh, they're actually saying this. You know what I mean? Like,
it's happened, yeah, for sure.
Well, but a lot of the rap music, if I were to print out the lyrics of rap music that is being played on radio stations in this town, not casting aspersions on any of the R&B or the, what do they call it, the black stations, but if I were to print out the lyrics of some of these songs and just say them, I would probably be turned into the FCC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would turn you into the FCC because if you mispronounced a word, first of all, I would call Cameron and I would have him send you a shipment of horsepower and say, look, this guy needs some help. But secondly, Brad, the best website ever, and probably besides my own website, would be genius.com. I'm a big genius.com guy, and if I ever have questions about lyrics, I go there because they're all annotated. I'm sure you're familiar with this.
I've never seen genius.com.
Oh, Brad. Okay, so go in break or any other time. If you go to genius.com, every song, and they started with just hip-hop, and then they moved into mainstream songs, so you can click on a lyric, and it's all community edited. So if I go to Philly's Most Wanted and I were to click on Cross the Border and I clicked on that line, I got blanks with accents and now I mean Hondas. If somebody didn't understand it, a reader would say Honda Accent is a popular car that was introduced in 1999, whatever. So every lyric that you don't understand, the backstory of it is annotated. And in fact, Brad, to put a bow on this conversation, the very first song that was added to Genius.com was a song called Killicam by an artist we referenced 2 days ago, Cameron. And Killicam is probably my favorite song by Cameron. But check it out. It's Genius.com, and it's just fantastic. If you have any questions about lyrics, it's the first place I go. And in fact, Brad, I have the app on my phone.
John's this very, good-looking,
Oh, Brad, go on.
Well-manicured, handsome-looking former corporate comms guy. And once again, that's his daytime thing. By night, he's Mr. Rap and Hip-Hop. And every time I bring something up, every single time I mention some kind of rap or hip-hop, John knows exactly what I'm talking about. Not only does he know who the artist is, he can give me the lyrics. And I'm going like,
I'm doing a deep bow, Brad. Thank you. I appreciate you paying homage to my roots and to my extensive knowledge of this topic.
I actually meant homage, but you say homage, right?
I think it's au moi.
Okay. That's John Combest, O-M-B-E-S-T. And we will get to the point right here. We screwed around long enough we get to the meat and potatoes of the show, which is John's top three. John derives his top three from his website, which he publishes every day, johncombest.com. He has dozens of articles on there every day. He gives us the top three. We start off with this guy by the name of...
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what does he do?
Now on with the countdown.
He counts them down, and we start off with...
In third place...
Brad, sometimes when I'm giving you a hard time and I'm hazing you, I accuse you of chronic underdogism. But here's a chance to pay homage and au moi to your chronic underdogism, Brad. If I told you there's a man that grew up in Hannibal, Missouri, that put his way through school and earned all of his pocket change by flipping burgers at Hardee's, saved up enough money, went to Vanderbilt, got a law degree, moved to St. Louis, started his own business, Brad. And on top of it, he's the only outsider in his race. Is that something you might be interested in?
Most definitely. Who is this person?
Gentleman is named David Wasinger. Now, Brad, I got to introduce the controversy. He's running for lieutenant governor, which pits him against your new favorite candidate, Holly Thompson Rader. Holly was on our show yesterday. I'd also point out that I have a link to the Jefferson City News Tribune today. Holly spoke at a women's event yesterday, Brad. She talked about her book, Cinder Girl, which we discussed on the air yesterday. You can find that segment by going to bjshow.video, thanks to Brad, and clicking on segment B. But David Wasinger is a gentleman from the St. Louis area who's running against Holly Rader and a few other candidates for lieutenant governor. He was on radio station KZRG down in Joplin yesterday, talking a little bit about his race and why he's running. And Brad, His catchphrase is, he is the only social, fiscal, America first conservative in this race. I knew you would like his backstory, Brad.
Well, you know what KZRG stands for, by the way, ZRG?
No, Zimmer Radio Group?
Exactly. That's one of the Zimmer stations. Yeah,
I thought maybe it was something like Zorro's religious garb.
So he really was a burger flipper up in Hannibal?
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is, so first of all, let me tell you my bias here. I met David back in 2002. A dear friend of mine managed his wife's campaign. You might recognize the last name, Brad, because a woman named Colleen Wasinger was on the St. Louis County Council for several years. And a dear friend of mine managed that campaign, and that's when I met David back in 2002. So I have a bias toward David because I think he's a great man, and I think his wife is a wonderful woman. So that's my bias in that case. But yeah, and he also ran, Brad, and here's kind of the controversial thing, or one of the things he's known for. He ran in 2018 against a woman named Sandra McDowell for state auditor. And this woman wasn't a particularly great candidate by all accounts. I think most people would say she certainly wasn't a polished candidate. And David lost that primary. So he's 0-1, and that's kind of the knock against him, I guess. If there's anything you have to say critical about David, it would be that he lost a statewide race, a statewide primary before. But let's face it, all the good ones have lost a race before. So anyway, I would suggest folks check it out. David isn't a flashy guy. He's not a high-profile guy. But, he built his own life. He built his own career. He's an attorney, and he does a lot of real estate. I believe he still has a business where he's done a lot of real estate development in the St. Louis area. I believe it's commercial real estate, and a really interesting guy. So folks can check that out.
You know what, John, I'm jealous of you.
Why is that?
You have all these dear friends. I just have groundhog friends. I'm telling you.
They come out once a year?
Right. They come out once a year. Have I ever told you my groundhog stories?
No, you haven't.
I have battles against groundhogs. I really, honest to God, I have battles against groundhogs.
Do you take it personally?
Oh, very personally.
Because they've chosen you, Brad. They've targeted you.
Right. Matter of fact, what's interesting about it is my mailman, when he pulls up to my place, my mailman, and once again, my mailman is a brother, and he's the nicest guy in the world. And one day he pulls up, and this happens all the time, and he says, your place is creepy. Every time I pull up, there's a damn groundhog running around on your front lawn. I go, I know, it's crazy. And what's interesting is sometimes if I come out my front door, I will see the groundhog, sometimes 2 of them, sometimes even 3 of them, scurry across my front lawn down into the sewer. So, and what they've done is they've attacked, I have one of these retaining walls, a planter box retaining walls. They've attacked my one retaining wall, and it's collapsing because they've burrowed underneath it. And, when I put it in right with, 3/4 minus, the whole bit, like my dad taught me. And they pulled out all the rock, so the whole wall's collapsing. I'm going, oh, crap. Okay, that's so he has dear friends, I have groundhog friends. Okay, moving along.
Up a notch to number 2.
Number 2.
To endorse or not to endorse? That is the question. The lead story from the Kansas City Star in the political arena today is about a potential Donald Trump endorsement in the Missouri Attorney General primary. Of course, this race pits incumbent Attorney General Andrew Bailey, who was appointed to that post by Governor Mike Parson, against Will Scharf, who is Donald Trump's attorney. So the speculation in the Kansas City Star piece today is they're asking the question, these 2 reporters are asking the question, will Donald Trump endorse? And of course, in a Republican primary, an endorsement from Donald Trump would mean a whole lot. It might mean everything in that particular race. And one of the unique factoids that I'll give credit to the Kansas City Star for pointing out is that Bailey's campaign and his official X accounts, formerly known as Twitter, have mentioned Trump more than 40 times since the beginning of the year. So it appears as though Bailey is at least making overtures toward the president and the president's team. And I think probably a best case scenario for Andrew Bailey is that Donald Trump wouldn't endorse or would, maybe come out and say that they're 2 great candidates for attorney general in the state of Missouri. I don't know how. I mean, I think both sides really, Brad, here are playing the expectations game. If I'm Andrew Bailey, I'm coming out and telling people privately, of course Donald Trump is going to endorse Will Scharf. And if he doesn't, I mean, could you believe what an insult that would be to Will Scharf? So I think both sides are probably going to play the expectations game here.
John, I have to take issue with you. I don't really think that what you say is true. That, you know, I don't mean to cast aspersions on you, but you're talking about Will Scharf. The only person I ever see who talks about Trump as Trump's attorney is that lady Hannah Hotbody, I think's her name, or what's her name?
Hannah Hotbody?
Hannah Hotbody. She's the
yeah, she cuts my hair at Sport Clips. She gives me a little scalp massage, you know, a little neck rub.
I've never seen Will Scharf. I've never heard him on a talk show, but yet he's always got these killer attractive women. Remember, like, who was the lady who worked for his in communications department who was like literally could have been like a Vogue fashion model? Remember her name? Hicks. Hey, what was her name?
Hope Hicks.
Hope Hicks. Don't you remember Hope Hicks?
I do remember Hope Hicks. What does this have to do with Will Scharf?
I never see him. Anytime I see or hear someone referred to as, and here's Donald Trump's attorney, it's always Hannah, what's her name?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Hannah
Hotbody.
Hotbody.
I missed that. I thought you were going for a punchline.
No. It's never him. I never see him. I never see him credited. I never see him on TV. I never see his name. It's always these other people. I mean, like if I pulled up a story about Trump and his trial, I almost guarantee you that Will Scharf's name is not in that story ever.
Well, no, I would dispute that, Brad. I mean, Will has been on CNN, twice in the last month to talk about the Trump trials?
Yeah, but these
women... Will's on CNN, Will's on Fox, Will's doing and he's doing all the local hits for sure. And in fact, haven't you made fun of the fact that Will and Andrew Bailey are both on television all the time?
Well, no, it's Andrew Bailey. Andrew Bailey, I think, has an office down the hall from 97.1 and KMOX because he's always on that radio station. You know, it's to the point where it's like, oh, God. You know,
no, but Will has been on CNN quite a bit. Remember, Jimmy Kimmel just did a montage 2 weeks ago making fun of Will Scharf because Will is on TV all the time for Donald Trump.
Hold on. I got to look at this. I got to see what her name is. Is this going to drive me Trump's?
Is it Alina Habba?
Yeah, Alina Habba. Yeah, I call her Hannah Hotbody because once again, she is... Something hit me the other day. I heard this before, but I heard it the other day on another radio station, and the guy said... Washington, D.C., you probably heard this before. Washington, D.C. is the Hollywood for ugly people.
Yeah, that's what it is. Politics is, I always say politics is show business for ugly people.
What's her name again? Hannah, what's again?
Alina Habba.
Which
is not to be, she's not from Honolulu, which is where little Jackie Schaefer loved that Rascal Puff. That was Honolulu. Now, Brad, I do have something that involves a lack of beauty and quite a bit of gluttony as story number one if you happen to have Casey around.
And we do.
The number one.
Oh, Brad, get your genius.com ready because I'm going to sing something for you. Work it, girl. Do your thing on the runway. You know who that is, Brad?
Would that be J.B. Pritzker?
It's J.B. Pritzker, yeah. Morbidly Obese has something to do with this story. No, that was RuPaul. I don't know what year that was. Usually I'm pretty good with years. But, Brad, I implore you, go to St. Louis Public Radio today. I have a link to it up. St. Louis on the Air, the venerated show brought to you by St. Louis Public Radio, has a very unique event promo. And I know you're going to want to attend this, Brad. Saturday night, there's something called a gala. And it's all caps gay -LA. And it's a drag show. And what's unique about this, Brad, is it's out in Chesterfield. They're breaking new ground. Now, it's a preview, according to the organizers, of Pride Month. Because 1 month of having rainbow flags shoved down our throat isn't enough. They're going to bring the drag show out to Chesterfield. And this gentleman, Jeremy Goodwin, who we've talked about before, who's a really good content creator at St. Louis Public Radio. You might remember we had a positive interaction with him because he talked about the fight that took place in Hazleton, Missouri, and Jeremy corrected that right away. But Jeremy does a Q&A with there's a morbidly obese man named Greg Coleman, and his crossdresser name is Karma T. Cassidy. And he's performing. And Jeremy sat down and talked a little bit with this gentleman who, judging by the size of him, probably shouldn't be buying too many green bananas, if you know what I mean. You don't see too many obese people at age like 70, you know? Anyway, this gentleman talks a little bit about how important it is to come support the drag community, because Jeremy asked him a pretty good leading question, which is, you know, we've seen a lot of pushback from the political right who want to disapprove of how you live your life and want to see it as a political thing. So this behemoth of a man talks about how important it is to come out, support the cross-dresser community. He is not a trans, so he is a gay man. And just come on out, Brad. It's Saturday. I'll leave a ticket for you at the door. I can't go because I got that anything else I have to do on Saturday night. But check it out, Brad, and I have a link up today on my website.
John, if I were to call, who's the new general manager at St. Louis Public Radio, KWMU? What's her name again?
I think they might hand it to Sarah Fensky because I think she's looking for a new gig.
Poor Sarah. She should have stayed at KWMU. Well, she was better than what's her face. What's the lady that I talk about?
Is it? Well, it's not a lady. There's a woman named like Tina Palamalamuni, and then there's Elaine Cha.
Elaine Cha. Okay. No, never mind. I'm going to get myself in trouble.
You probably will, Brad. Remember, on this show, you're the straight guy, Brad. You got to be the straight guy. And I don't mean like trannies. I know on the weekend you like to tinker with trannies, and by that I mean transmissions.
No, you're
the straight guy on the show.
I was going to say, can you imagine if I called the general manager at KWMU and said, "Hey, I like these drag shows and stuff like that you promote and you show up at. I'm promoting a best of WWE where it's going to be all the wrestlers, and we want to be on your show. We want to have Elaine Cha, however you say it. Was it CHA? Is that what it is? Cha?
CHA. Yeah, like let's do the cha-cha. But I wouldn't want to see her do it. Go ahead.
That would be if she cloned herself. She'd be Elaine Cha-cha. Is that what? So anyway, can you imagine? I'm sorry. We don't do WWE.
We don't do Masculinity Monday. You're gonna have to take that to. Well, there's some other radio stations that attack rhinos. Why don't you take it to those stations?
Boy, John, are you making fun of Tracy?
No. Brad, I'm not gonna. There will be no contagion. There will be no contagion here, Brad. I'm not going to join in your dogpiling.
By the way, speaking of contagions, have you kept up with all the congressional hearings on the NIH people who we all believed what they were talking about during the pandemic?
Yeah, I've seen tweets about it. God. I haven't watched any of the videos, but I've seen tweeted videos of it. Yeah.
God, it's unbelievable.
It's terrific.
We have to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?